Hello, welcome to today's video. In this video, we shall attempt to resolve the question of vague antecedents, of vague pronoun antecedents. What do we mean by vague antecedents? Let's begin this lesson by trying to establish or review the idea of the pronoun. Let's do this by examining these sentences on the board. Agbo Malaika lives in the town of Lagoon. Lagoon is not far from Ibadan. Agbo Malaika went to primary school. Agbo Malaika was in primary 4. If you look at these groups of sentences, you will agree with me that they sound monotonous, they sound awkward, they sound uninteresting because of the repetition of some words. Now we can reconstruct the sentences. We can replace some of the words that have been repeated with other words so that the sentences can sound better and interesting. So let's look at it. Agbo Malaika lives in the town of Lagoon, which is not far from Ibadan. He went to primary school. He was in primary 4. Agbo Malaika lives in the town of Lagoon, which is not far from Ibadan. He went to primary school. He was in primary 4. Now these sentences sound better. They sound interesting because we have eliminated the monotony instigated by the repetition of Agbo Malaika and Lagoon. Now the words that we used to replace the nouns are pronouns. This, and this. So this is the whole idea of the pronoun. A pronoun is a word used in the place of a noun or instead of a noun. And you have seen the essence of pronouns in sentences. They help to eliminate monotony and repetition of nouns. Now, of course, these are not the only pronouns in the English language. There are many other pronouns: I, we, you, he, she, it, they, them, their, our, ours, your, yours, his, him, she, her, hers, everyone, anyone, several, many, this, that. These are examples of pronouns. So we have established the idea of pronouns in sentences. Now let's talk about the antecedent of the pronoun. What do we mean by the antecedent of the pronoun? The antecedent of a pronoun is the noun to which the pronoun refers. Let's look at this example. Jane paid a debt this morning. Jane paid a debt this morning. This is a pronoun and it is referring to Jane. So we say Jane is the antecedent of this pronoun. What is the antecedent of this pronoun? It is Jane. Jane is the antecedent of this pronoun because it is the noun to which this pronoun is referring. So let me repeat that the antecedent of a pronoun is the noun to which the pronoun is referring. So the antecedent of her is Jane. Paul paid his fees this morning. Is a pronoun, and it is referring to Paul. So Paul is the antecedent of the pronoun is. Now in this example, the antecedent is straightforward. There is no ambiguity. It is easy to identify. However, there are sentences we construct where it is not so easy to identify the antecedent of the pronoun. Let's look at this example. Sandra told Jane that she passed the test. Sandra told Jane that she passed the test. Now, this is the pronoun. What is the antecedent of this pronoun? Is it Sandra? Is it Jane? The way the sentence is constructed, there is no way we can tell whether it is Sandra or Jane that this pronoun is referring to. This is what we call vague antecedent. And there are a number of ways to resolve this issue. The first way you can resolve the problem of vague antecedents in sentences is to insert after the pronoun the particular noun you are actually referring to. That is the antecedent of the particular pronoun. Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. By putting Sandra here after the pronoun, you have clearly eliminated any ambiguity regarding the antecedent of this pronoun. And what this suggests clearly is that Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. What this simply means is that Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. It's like I'm Sandra and you are Jane, you are my friend. I meet you and enjoy. I tell you, hey, hello, my friend Jane, I passed the test. So Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. Now, what if it is Jane that has passed the test? What do? We say Sandra told Jane that Jane passed the test. So if it was Jane that passed the test, let's assume they are classmates. Jane was not in class, and Sandra picked up the scripts from the class rep, saw Jane's score, and then calls Jane and said, congratulations, Jane, you passed the test. It will read like this: Sandra told Jane that Jane, passed the test. So this is one way to eliminate the problem of vague antecedents, ambiguities. Now, this is the method that I use when I review my writings and I dictate some form of vagueness in antecedents of the pronoun. This is what I use, and this is what I recommend. Now, there are other options. And one other option you can do is, you can adopt is to put the sentence in direct speech. Now, in this example, this is a reported speech. You can put it back in direct speech. But for you to do this, you have to come with some background knowledge about direct and indirect speech, and you need a solid understanding of how to use punctuation marks. In any case, this method is not applicable to all kinds of sentences. This method is applicable to sentences that are reported species. Sandra told Jane that she passed the test. Now, this is the second option. Sandra said to Jane, I passed the test. So what this simply means is the antecedent of this is Sandra. Sandra is saying to Jane, Jane, I passed the test. Now, if you look at this, that's a double quotation mark here, and there's this other option of a single quotation mark. If you also look at this carefully, you will see that the full stop or the period is within the quotation mark. And in this option, the full stop or the period is outside the quotation mark. This is American style, and this is British style. Why undergoing this kind of stress? Are you ready for this kind of stress? Is it necessary? What if it was Sandra? No, it wasn't Sandra. It was Jane that passed the test, and you want to adopt this style. Sandra said to Jane, you, so this will change to you passed the test. Sandra said to Jane, you passed the test. So see why I recommend the first option. It is easier and it is simpler. Now the third option that you can use is this. Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. What if it was Jane and not Sandra that passed the test? You write, Sandra told Jane that Jane passed the test. Now, by doing this, you have eliminated the ambiguity. But there's a little problem there. There's some problem there. You will sense this repetition of the same noun, and it doesn't make the sentence interesting. Sandra told Jane that Sandra passed the test. Sandra told Jane that Jane passed the test. This eliminates ambiguity, but it's not so interesting. It's like taking us back to why the pronoun was invented. The problem of monotony, avoiding repetition. That's what we are back to here. So you can see why I recommend the first option. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for staying with me. I believe that this video will be helpful to many people out there, especially our students. And not just students. At some point, we will need to do some kind of writing. So it is good we improve on our writing and eliminate the problem of vague antecedents. Once again, thank you for watching.